Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Say What You Want About Real Estate. I'm Michelle Elliott.
And I'm Kristina Rodgers.
Today, we are going to be talking about the locked-in effect. This is something that is happening all over the country, and we're talking about the fact that homeowners are staying longer in their homes. In fact, we just got off a national meeting, and our chief deputy of the National Association of Realtors, the chief deputy economist, I should say, just told us that the average age of a repeat home buyer is 61 years old, and that home sellers, are holding on to their homes almost twice as long.
Almost 12 years.
12 years is the average now of a home seller hanging on to their home before they get their next property. This is very different. It used to be 7 years. So when we entered the business, we would have a lot of repeat business. We'd put somebody into what we used to call a starter home, and then they would move up to an additional property. And we're just not seeing that in the marketplace, right, Kristina?
Yeah, one of the big things that the chief economist was saying is that the average age of a first-time home buyer has actually gone up almost 10 years, I think it was.
Right.
I think it was around 37, was that right?
Right. Yeah. And demographics are playing a very, very big role in that. So the older generations do have more equity. They're locked into their homes, right? And they're locked into low interest rates. So we're seeing that the baby boomers as well as the Gen X's, don't even look at me like that. We're two different generations
I'm still
here.
a millennial.
Okay, but I don't know if you should claim that. Okay, Gen X is the best generation. So definitely the Gen Xers are more locked into the lower interest rate. Although, well, no, you recently bought your house, huh? So you have a higher interest rate.
Yeah, I have a higher interest rate. I actually bought my house in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So funny enough, I have the same interest rate that I did when I bought my first property at 25, which was in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know what? That's similar. So when we bought our property, the interest rates were about the same, 6-7%, something in that range, right?
I have to do it. I'm really sorry.
Yeah. What?
6-7.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If you have little kids, you know what we're talking about. If you don't, sorry, you're gonna have to Google it. Okay, so yeah, so interesting. I mean, the interest rates have kind of swung back around again, right?
Yeah. So I mean, at least for us when we purchased, I felt like, okay, we haven't gone up from where I was before, so it's still okay.
Right.
Because, the right time to buy is when you're ready.
Right, absolutely.
And that's when we could do it.
Right. I mean, and you have to say, 6 or 7% in that range, that is still a historic low on the average.
Oh, yeah.
Right? When my parents purchased their property, when they bought the house that we grew up in, I want to say they paid 20%.
Yeah, I think
right?
my parents same. I think that 18 to like low 20s
Yeah.
was pretty normal.
Prominent. Right.
In the 80s.
In the 80s. Yeah, right.
Somewhere
exactly.
in that ballpark.
Yeah,
I
in
think.
that ballpark. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So because we have this big swath in the country of people who have those 2, 3, 4% interest rates, it's trapping people in their homes longer. So I know across the country, some of the people are calling this the locked in effect. Here in the Valley, we're calling it golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
That's something we're used to talking about, right? People in the Valley always say golden handcuffs. You want to explain what we mean by that, Kristina?
I mean, that generation is just not motivated to move.
Mhm.
I know a lot of folks that are my parents' age, and my parents, for example, were sitting in a 3,500 square foot home, and it's just the two of them. They use the kitchen and their bedroom, and
Mhm.
that's pretty much it. And so they finally downsized, but it is so hard to get that generation to let it go.
Baby boomers you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. So baby boomer generation, they're not doing the downsize
They're
thing.
not doing the downsize, and it's because their homes are paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Their property taxes are
Locked in.
and low.
Yeah.
And if they're not paid off, they refinanced when we hit the twos.
Right. So they're kind of stuck in this situation where they don't want to lose that low interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of older people, baby boomers, it's a tough decision on when to downsize. I feel like the way we used to do it is that the older folks would move in with their family members, right? And now, I mean, people are living longer.
Yeah.
People need full-time care. We can't, we have jobs too, and
Yeah.
we've got our own
True.
kids, right? Sandwich generation.
Yeah.
So, having an older, parent in your home could potentially be a full-time job. And so when is a good time to get out of that property? I think that's what we're kind of running into. And a lot of, I think, older people are kind of just, dying in their homes because they don't know exactly
Aging in
when.
place.
Aging in place. Aging in place, true. Yes, true, true. But there are really good opportunities out there and things that make sense to downsize. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the issue becomes like the housing shortage, right? We have a housing shortage. We have these older generations that are staying in their homes. And it's not just the older generation. We may have folks that are younger our age that now have children
Right,
or now have pets, but they're locked in truly because they took advantage of those 2% interest rates.
right.
Where it's
Okay,
like,
let's hang on to that demographic for a
we'll
second.
circle back to that
Yeah,
demographic.
let's go on the baby boomers. So the baby boomers, I feel like have a different dilemma too. It's like another layer, which is like you say it right, the aging in place kind of dilemma. Like if they were going to downsize, what would they downsize to?
And that's the problem, I think, with where we live in terms of cost. So we have things in place to help that generation to keep that cost down, right?
Hmm.
So you have the ability, if you're 55 and over, to keep your property tax base.
That's right.
What I find that my clients can't justify is, why would I sell my $3 million 3,500 square foot home to buy a 1,500 square foot home that costs, let's call it $1.8 million. That's our
Right.
median home price. They're
Right.
like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Why would I do that? And so it comes down to, even though they're able to keep their property taxes, I think mentally that's difficult math
Right.
mentally.
Right.
They don't need the space.
Right.
They're not using it.
Yeah.
But why would they pay so much for something that's half the size of what they're currently sitting in?
And then what about capital gains too?
And there's capital gains.
Yeah. So I think
That's
those are kind of the two big things. So if in a scenario, if you bought a house, if you're a baby boomer, you bought your house in the 80s or 90s, imagine in this valley, I want to say the average price was like 200,000, something in that range. Let's say your house is worth 2 million, $3 million at this point. You have a huge tax liability, right? So now you're thinking to yourself, is this really worth it for me to move to a smaller property and have to pay all those taxes?
And I'm glad that you bring up the capital gains, because here's the thing. For clients that are older who have unfortunately had a spouse that has passed,
Yeah.
that is when I see that they are willing to sell,
Okay.
because now it's one person
Yeah.
in this oversized home.
Right.
At time of death, there's an appraisal on the property.
Yeah.
And so now their capital gains completely changes.
Okay. So explain time of death appraisal. That's kind of a piece of it too.
So at the time of death, if you're working with an accountant or an attorney, they will probably tell you to have your home appraised. The reason for that is that you have a married deduction of $500K that you have, and don't quote me on this, I think you can use it within 2 years of death.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have someone who passes away and you get an appraisal, you bought your house, let's just say you bought it for 200,000, but now your house is worth $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At the time of death, if it's recent, your home, let's say, is worth $2 million, you sell in a year, and now your home is worth $2,050,000. Your capital gains is on that you're going to get more credit for that capital gains that you're taxed on. So now they're looking at your property value at $2 million.
Right.
Right. And you're getting a 500 deduction.
Right.
So it's going to significantly reduce your tax implication.
So, yeah, that is a good inflection point that we do see a lot of people kind of deciding, okay, maybe now is the right time. I think, what's hard is that I would like to see, people move when they can enjoy their property. I would love it. Even my mom is kind of in that same kind of dilemma. She lives in a newer townhome. It's a tri-level, so there's stairs. She loves where she lives. When is the right time for her to get out of that property? And is it going to be something that she's going to move to when she can enjoy it and really appreciate, for what she spent her money on? Or are we going to have to move her to a place after she's not going to be as mobile or things like that? She's going to need more care. So that's where I think that dilemma comes in. Like, when is the timing right for that? So my mom's on her own. She's just one person.
I don't think the timing ever feels right.
Yeah.
I think it's like anything else in life. I've had my parents recently downsized, and they had said they were going to downsize when my dad retired.
Hmm.
Well, they finally downsized 5 years after.
Right.
And we kept saying, you said you were going to downsize
Yeah.
when you were ready, but
Right.
you're still not ready. Like, how old do you have to be ready? You're
Right.
you're in your 70s,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it was a difficult adjustment. They finally did it despite the discomfort,
Yeah.
and they've never been happier. They went from
Oh,
3,500 square feet. They're still in, 16, 1,800 square feet, which is
yeah.
still big. They
Yeah.
still have a 6,000 square foot lot. So it's half of what everything is half of what they had.
Yeah.
But now that it's been a year and a half, you ask my parents and they'll tell you, we're happy. We love it. We're so glad we finally did it. I have another client that was on her own, and she decided to move to a 55 older community. And it was a very difficult adjustment, a very hard moving away from the home, but it was time. And I talked to her a couple of weeks ago, and she says, I'm finally happy.
Oh, good.
But when I talked to her a week after the move into the
It was
community,
hard.
even a month in, it was a big struggle. It was a
Yeah.
very large adjustment. But now that it's been a couple months, I find that both of those are happy.
Yeah. And
Change is hard.
change is hard. And I do feel like, especially for baby boomers, they feel like they work their whole life to get the big house and to have those achievements. And like you're saying, to take the money that you've earned and then take it and use it on something so much more expensive, right?
Yeah.
But for so much less square footage, probably feels
It just
not
doesn't
feel
right.
right. Yeah, exactly.
But then when I have conversations with them, I think what is right, and they realize after they've been doing it for a little while, is it's so much less maintenance.
Yeah.
It's so many less bathrooms to clean. It's so much less to vacuum.
Yeah.
It's You didn't need all of that. And so you don't realize how much extra you're doing when you're
Yeah.
living in a home that's too
Yeah.
large, until you finally downsize and you're like, my life is easier. I don't waste all my time doing mundane tasks.
Yeah. And I mean, even for us, we have this big garden. So we've got lots of roses and we've got lots of plants and everything. And just this year, I got to the place where I was like, oh my God, I can see why people want to downsize. It's a lot
Yeah,
of work, right?
it's a lot of
Especially if
work.
you have, a big garden or, like you said, you have multiple bathrooms. So it's like you don't even want to use one of the bathrooms because you're like, I don't want to dirty it up, right?
Yeah, but then there's we got to use the bathroom so we keep our plumbing going, right?
Well,
So
yeah,
it's
there's
like
issues
we got to
there.
flush and shower in there once a week or
Right.
whatever.
And then where you get the toilet ring with the hard
Yeah,
water
it's a
stains.
chore,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
totally a chore. Yeah. So, and I know it's hard. It's a hard decision, but I really would, like to see, because, the worst thing is when, let's say we sell someone a house and they're like, I'm going to redo the kitchen, I'm going to do the floors. And then they call you 5 years later or whatever, and they say, hey, we're ready to sell our house and get into something else. And you get there and they're like, we never had a chance to do the floors. We never had a chance to do the kitchen. I feel like it's kind of a similar thing. It's like, I want to downsize. I know I do, but maybe you just don't get to it. And then you get to the place where it's like, well, you can't enjoy where you're moving to because you waited maybe just a little bit too long. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see, more folks get to a place where they can enjoy it. I did have a property over off of Pine right here in Willow Glen that a couple was downsizing from Almaden.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and I was representing the seller, but I drive by that house all the time. I always think about that couple that I met there at the open house that day. They weren't my clients, but because I represented the seller, but I always think about them. It was a one level, it was two bathrooms, it's 1,600 square feet, and it was a great move. They could walk to downtown Willow Glen. I thought this is a great, great plan.
Well, and you wanna do it when you're able, like you
Yeah.
said, so it's like the sooner the better. It's a hard change, but my client that moved to a 55 over community, they have a dining hall, they have organized bingo, they have all kinds of learning
Was
events.
it the Villages?
No, they moved over to the terraces in Los
Okay.
Gatos,
Okay.
and so
Yeah.
it's like you have this whole community of literally friends. I like to think of it as a 55 over dorm rooms.
Yeah. Right.
I
Yeah.
lived in the
Totally.
dorms in my
Yeah.
20s,
Good idea.
early
I like
teens.
how you say that.
And
Yeah.
so it's fun, you move somewhere new, it's kind of lonely and scary at first, but
It
then you
is.
realize you can knock on your neighbor's door.
Right.
Or you realize, you don't have anyone to eat lunch with, so maybe you go to the dining hall, if you
Yeah.
will, instead of eating in your own place, and
Yeah.
there's other people there you can talk to and just have conversation with. Um, Everything at the terraces is kind of like what you said with this house on Pine, where you can walk to Pete's Coffee, you can walk to Lunardi's, you can walk to Whole Foods, and it's so why not do it sooner than later?
Right.
My parents who downsized, they had a whole plan. They wanted to be walking distance to Safeway and
Yeah.
Starbucks and like the big shopping center in Almaden.
Yeah.
And so for them, they've been able to go for walks around the block and still be very much a part of a community. They actually have a better, more central location to
Oh.
other adults, right? They were
Yeah.
a little bit more remote before. And so the change is hard, but I think when people finally do it, they realize it 100% is worth it.
I think the thing that you should keep in mind if you are thinking about downsizing is maybe get the conversation going with a realtor that you trust, because I think that's going to help guide all of these decisions. And even if it's not now, if it's sometime in the future you're thinking, I don't know what I want my life to look like, you can kind of work out those
Start
scenarios.
that planning
Yeah, start
process.
that
There's
planning
nothing wrong with
process.
starting that planning process. And the advantage too is like these folks have a lot of equity in their home. So here's the thing, you're going to downsize. If you never made it to remodel the kitchen or the
Yeah.
bathroom or whatever it is that you wanted, just
Right.
remember when you're going from big to small, you can actually afford
Yes,
to remodel it. It can
absolutely.
be your dream home.
Yeah.
That's 1,200 square foot in one story.
Well,
Maybe
because
something you couldn't do or afford in a
if it was
3,000 square
3,000
foot
square feet, yeah,
house.
you know how much the floors are in
Yeah.
3,000 square feet?
So it's like it may be smaller, but it could be your dream home for retirement
And
and
I
for
think
safety.
I think what we hit on is location. So I think the location, think of your dream location. And when you're downsizing, especially if you're in the baby boomer generation or if you're a silent generation, think of the location and what's going to be the ideal location. I think that will help kind of
Yeah.
drive your decision making. Okay, let's get to the next generation down. Let's get to my generation. But you're kind of in the same category too, because I'm a baby of
Uh-huh.
the
Uh-huh.
of the Gen Xers. You're an older
I'm the
millennial.
elder of the millennials.
Millennial. Okay. So let's say this. Okay. Let's say, my situation, I've got 3 teenage boys, right? I've got one that's already kind of flying the nest already. He's in college, and my other 2 are right behind. They're sophomores in high school. So all of my friends are in the zone of, okay, we think we might want to downsize or add on or remodel. Which way should we go? And there's a lot of decisions, and there is a lot of options, and no one knows exactly what to do. So let's kind of and the other thing is you're dealing with the golden handcuff situation on that too.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like people don't necessarily want to move, even if they're like, you know what, my kids are out, they graduated school, we're ready, we want to downsize. Now they're in the golden handcuff situation. They are locked into their interest rate, especially if you're in my generation, because a lot of my friends purchased when their kids were kind of in elementary school. So we've
Yeah.
got the lower interest
You
rates.
you were good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Timing.
we'll talk about millennials, right? Like
Yeah.
we'll get into what I
I
did,
know.
which was not ideal, but it's what we needed.
Well, you know what? I mean,
So we did it anyways.
everything in real estate's timing. You can't time the market. It is
Yeah.
what it is. You got to work with what you have to work with, you know? So, all right. So let's talk about the Gen Xers. A lot of decisions here, right? So, I mean, let's talk about if you were going to, and some people want to upsize too, right?
Yeah.
Some people want that, okay, my kids are out of the house. I don't have to keep this location because of schools, right? People are
You
like,
finally have more income that goes towards what you want versus what you need for
right,
your kids.
right,
Hopefully.
right.
I
Absolutely.
mean, I hope that's what happens.
Absolutely. And I think it's a similar type thing. If you're going to buy the bigger home, you should do it sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
right? So you can enjoy it, right? If you're thinking, I want something easy breezy, I want something smaller, right? And I mean, hey, what I would do if I was in that situation, I'd probably, do a double dip, sell the big property, get two houses. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not get something fun that you can enjoy? Maybe you can convince the kids to come home from college and actually go on vacation with you again.
Right, right.
Now that they don't have to because they don't live with you
I think they'll
necessarily.
appreciate it when they have to pay for their own vacations. That's when
Exactly.
that's when they really want to go with you, right? Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think, my generation has a lot of dilemmas on the table here about what they're going to do in the future to do with their kids. A lot of it has to do with whether or not the kids are going to boomerang too.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about the average age of a first-time home buyer being 36, 36, that's
I hope
rough.
they're not living at home till they're
I
36. I mean, I
know.
love my children dearly, but
Yeah, you can love them in an apartment.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the average age of first-time homebuyer is 36 years old. So that is going to take some time. So they're
Yeah.
on their own, really on their own. So then that kind of maybe leaves our generation in limbo. It's like, well, if my kids aren't settled, am I settled yet?
Yeah, well, if your kids aren't settled and they're coming back after college for a couple years, you wanna have room for them.
You want to have room
I
for
mean,
them, definitely.
guilty, like, I did that. I went back home for a little while
Yeah,
before I bought my first
yeah,
place.
yeah.
I
I
needed a
mean,
save.
yeah, and even though I ran away, so I was at the East Coast. The minute I graduated, I left and came out here. Um, but my mom still had places for us to stay when we came back for the holidays and things like that. So yeah, you definitely want to have space for
I
your
mean, you
kids, or some
always
people
wanna be
do.
able to accommodate your
Yeah,
children,
some people do.
whether they're grown or not. Well, and I always say, like having guests, I want my guests to be comfortable for a few days, but not so comfortable that they never leave,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
everything is nice,
Right.
but kids being home is wonderful, and it is different now with kids coming home. It's a lot more common for kids to stay longer, I
Yeah.
think, than you and I stayed at home.
No, 100%. Yeah, 100%. No, that's absolutely true. I'll tell you a funny story. When we dropped my son off at college, there was the mom and dad had an RV ready, and they were like, we sold everything. Seriously, we sold everything and we're out for like a year. They're like, we're going to be on the road. Like, bye, kids. See you
That's
later.
amazing.
Mom and dad are out. Yeah. Can you believe that?
That's
Oh my
amazing.
gosh. So, yeah, I mean, okay, so the interest rates are kind of playing a role in the locked in effect. We talked about the taxes in the locked in
Mhm.
effect, and then schools too. Schools. Once your kid starts at a certain school district, I think people, rightfully so, they don't want to move their kids,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I mean, then that's the situation where we were in. So, I'm an older millennial,
Yes,
but
you are.
we decided to move 2 years ago, and we were transferring our kids to school and driving them, and that was fine, but we realized after, a couple years, after 2 years, that it's just not the same when you don't live in the neighborhood
Yeah.
with all the other kids, and
Yeah.
so we wanted to be in the community in which we were sending our kids, and
Hmm.
so we decided the timing was finally right for us financially, so we made that move into the district that we were well, same district, but into the school that we had our children in, and, we had a great rate on our home in the 2s, and when we moved, we're locked in at almost 6.
I wouldn't worry so much about well,
So
I
that
guess.
was no fun from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
We upgraded our house. Honestly, we upgraded like 300 square feet, so it wasn't really that much bigger, but just enough to feel a little looser, like we weren't bursting at the seams, and we're super happy we did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It was 100% worth it. We're not in a 2%, but we're now in the neighborhood we want to be. We're in the community where our friends and our children's friends are. They can bike to each other's homes. They can walk to each other's houses. We're a 30-second drive to school. And so keeping a low interest rate wasn't worth it to us. Not that we're high now, but we don't have what a lot of other people are sitting at that have refinanced in the last 5, 6 years.
Right.
And it was just the cost of the move that was right for our family.
Well, I mean, I think we say it all the time, which is that you have to move when it's right for
Yeah.
you, right? I mean, you can't control the market. You
No.
certainly can't control the interest rates, right? There's no reason to sit on the sidelines if you can afford something, but you're scared of the interest rate.
Yeah.
That's silly.
And it's the same thing I tell everybody. They're like, well, what's the best time to buy or to sell? Well, the best time's when you're ready.
Right.
So call your realtor.
Yeah,
Have a plan in place for, hey, if you find this or when this happens, like I'm ready.
right.
And when they call you and say, hey, we've got this, does it work for you? Just take the plunge. It's never going to feel right.
Right, right, right.
It
Well,
never does.
and I always advise having a realtor that you can trust. Basically, at a moment's notice, having that person that you can trust, that you can always just run something by, right? Pick up the phone, send a text, be like, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking," knowing they're not going to try and push you out of your house and be like, "Oh, great,
Yeah.
you called me, let's sell your place right now," right? You need somebody that you can trust that's an advisor to you, right? And that person should help you understand your lifestyle, your needs, and put the puzzle pieces together for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's your agent's job to help you make sound decisions for what's in your best interest. But ultimately, we have to understand what your goals are so that we can assist you and call you when it's appropriate.
right. Because you never know, too. If you put a bug in your realtor's ear, then perhaps if something comes up that's really good, we could, be like, hey, I know you're not really looking now, but I just want to let you know about this property. You never know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I mean, funny enough, I was not looking at moving. We had just finished remodeling our home in August. We were finally done. And I stumbled, as I tell my husband, I stumbled across our new home in, I think it was March.
Is that what
And
happened?
yeah, we had no plans of moving. We had
Oh,
no plans of moving, but we'd always said, well, if we find something in Almaden that's one story, that's in this location, this is where we want to be.
yeah.
We want to be closer to my family, grandma and grandpa. And we found it. And my
Yeah.
husband's like, are you nuts? We just finished. Like, we're finally done with our yard, our office,
Yeah.
like everything.
It was
And I'm
very
like,
pretty.
but it's where we want to be.
But that's
And
because
so
you had
I
that
was
long
like
term
everybody
plan.
else.
Yeah.
Like, it was our long-term plan. We
Yeah.
didn't know when it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But when we found it, I was like, it's now or never.
Yeah.
Like, been doing this for 10 years. I've never said, hey, let's move.
Right. Right.
Like, I'm not interested in moving every 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
it's like, I just knew it was the right one.
Yeah.
And so we did it.
Yeah.
He trusted me.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, good. He has a good realtor. He should trust you. As my husband says, I have the best realtor.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So that is on your long term plan. That's why you should be having the conversations with your realtor about your overall picture in life. And I do think there's something to be said for unlocking that equity to do the things that you want in life,
And I
right?
like that. I mean, like you said, like your agent, your realtor is your advisor on your home. They're there to tell you what your equity is. And then you can do whatever you want with that
Yeah.
information. The same way you do an annual check in with your financial planner
Yes.
on your retirement, on your stocks. You
Absolutely.
should be doing that with your realtor.
Yeah.
Either your realtor should be reaching out to you or you should be reaching out to them.
You're totally right, Christina. Absolutely. What were you saying?
So I was just saying that working with your realtor is no different than checking in with your financial advisor. You want to talk about your 401k, you want to talk about your stocks, you have at least an annual meeting with those folks.
Yeah.
You should be reaching out to your realtor or your realtor should be reaching out to you to let you know just what your home is worth. How has your equity grown? Maybe you have plans. Maybe now you've got kids in college and you want to pull some of your equity to pay for college. Or maybe you want to use some of
Totally.
your equity to expand your square footage or to build that dream pool. There's nothing wrong with utilizing your equity. Whenever I talk to people from out of state, they always refer to equity in California as like people use their homes as their piggy bank. And we kind of can.
Right. Well, we can. Yeah, that's true. And you should. You shouldn't be, going like the saddest thing in the world to me is people that are sitting on, something so valuable and they do nothing with it in their lifetime. That is so sad to
Yeah, I
me.
mean, you're not going to take it with you when you're not
Exactly,
here. So,
exactly. So unlock that and do the things you want to do with it. And like Christina said, you don't necessarily have to sell your home, but
no.
having the meeting with your realtor. Okay, hear me when I say this. You should absolutely at least have one meeting a year with your realtor. Find a realtor, call one of us if you need a realtor, and get your home value checked. That is something you should know. That is part of your net worth. And it's something that everybody should understand about their total picture in their life so they can make the right decision for them
Yeah.
financially. Yeah.
And just remember, just because you call us to ask for a home evaluation, we're not assuming you're going to sell your home. You
Right.
can call and ask us that. Please don't go to Redfin or Zillow to find your home value. Just call us.
Please don't go to Redfin or
We
Zillow.
we are happy to provide a complimentary home evaluation. And you know what? If you're not ready to sell your home, just let us know who of your friends are ready. That's fine.
I love that part. There you go.
We're okay. We'll
Yeah.
help your friends
Right.
if you're not ready.
Yeah.
But we really want to be part of your team that's
Absolutely.
helping you advise and do what you want to accomplish in life.
Yeah.
Whatever those goals are, you have that equity there. You should be using it.
Yeah. If you have the right realtor, that person is not going to want to just have you get out of your house and so that they can sell it for you. Having the right person on your team means they want what's best for you and they want to help you in the totality of your life. And certainly they're not going to be like, yeah, get out of your house or you need to buy something that way, right?
And I think that's the hard part is when I ask folks, right, they'll reach out to me and I'm like, I can do a market analysis for you. And they're like, but I don't want to sell.
Oh, no.
Oh, no,
It's
no,
okay,
no.
it's
And I'm
okay.
like,
yeah.
I'm not going to make you sell your home. I can run a good analysis that's more accurate than what you're going to find online.
Yeah.
It's just value added service. Like you have no obligation to sell your home
Absolutely.
because I ran a market analysis for you. Like,
yeah.
I want you to know how much your home is worth. You
Yeah.
should be excited and proud about like everything you've grown.
Yeah. And I get it. Real estate agents, we have a bad reputation,
do.
right? And I think it's because of the sharky nature of our business. It's like, hey, if you are a tough negotiator, if you're a little shark, then you think that that's how that person is going to be towards you, right? But that's not most realtors. I think people have a misunderstanding about who realtors are. Just so you guys understand, the average age of a realtor is 55 years old and a woman. So what we're talking about here is usually moms and grandmas, okay, who just do this business. And most of them are not the kind of person who is going to try and kick you out of your house and is going to try and be a shark with you. We're here to represent you. We're here to represent your interests. And most realtors that we know care about their clients in that way. So if you are talking to somebody and you don't trust that they are there for your interest, find somebody else, because that is the way we look at our job. We're there to serve our clients, and we're there to serve our clients over a lifetime, not just for one thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I always say like I love working with clients when they sell their home, but the hardest part is when we're done, I'm like, well, now you left me.
Yeah.
And
I know.
And I love my clients.
When they leave the area, you're
When
saying?
they leave the
Oh,
area.
I know,
When my
that
clients
is
do downsize, a
hard.
lot of them move out of area.
I know, it is
what I find
hard.
with those that are downsizing, right? Most of them tend to move out of area.
Yeah.
And that's sad for me.
It is really sad. I don't think people understand how much we're attached to our clients.
I mean, even
know.
when I work with my buyers, sometimes I'm like, oh, now that we found you a home, like I don't get to see you every
Oh, I
weekend.
know.
I
Oh, I
actually have a
know.
good time.
Oh, yeah, me too. I don't
So-
think people understand the attachment there. I know. They're probably not thinking about us as much as
Yeah,
we're thinking
yeah.
about them. Although I have visited a few clients out of town. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be in your area. So
I know. I call my clients when I'm in the area and I'm like, I was just thinking about you. I
Yeah.
hope you guys are settling into your new home.
Well, because I mean, we're in the right business because we love what we do. We love
Yeah.
helping people. We love helping make their dreams come true. You know, that's the fun part for us. The fun part is like we will sit around like we did earlier today and envision what we're going to do remodel wise to our house or where you're going to live. We talked about you moving to Almaden. I don't know how many times,
Yeah.
right? We already are doing this stuff for free every single day.
Yeah.
So we would love to help you do that in your lives as well. So that's the kind of thing that we love to do is sit around and be like, okay, how can I make this dream come true for this person? If they
Yeah.
want to move to this area, that's their goal. How do we get them there?
Yeah.
That's what we live for.
And that's what I've said before. Like my happiest moment is either handing over the keys to my buyers
Yeah.
or telling my sellers, congratulations,
Yeah.
you're a millionaire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because that's what I really get the joy from. It's working with people.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I'm here to make my clients happy and to see them genuinely smile.
Yeah. No, me too. I mean, I think, and most realtors, I feel like have that on their heart. Most people, I think if you find the right person, they're not going to be that type. I think most of the people, at least that we work with, are the type that really want to help their clients and see them,
Yeah.
you know, happy in their spaces and things like that.
And
So
I'm honest. I tell my clients, they're like, well, should I sell? And I'm like, oh, like when it doesn't make sense, I say, it doesn't make sense.
absolutely.
Unless you have to, like, no, it doesn't always make sense.
Yeah.
And
No, it doesn't always
that's
make
where if
sense.
you have a good agent, they're going to be honest with you.
Right.
A lot of times when people part ways and are in divorce situations, that's when I'm like, if you can afford to buy them out, do it.
Yeah.
That's what makes most sense for you.
Yeah. Or sometimes they'll like freeze and then wait until the kids graduate or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but we definitely are there to help people, accomplish their dreams. Even if it's, hey, we're going to call you, find out what our equity is. We really want to put in a pool, or we really want to. These days, you don't want to refinance, but in the old days, you may want to refinance. The interest rates will come down. I will say that at some
Yeah.
point they
And
will come down.
they've come down actually the last, I think, 2 weeks. They've
Yeah,
been down a little
they
bit.
have. They have. We kind of got a little bit of a pop here, but they
Yeah.
change every day. That's the other thing is that if you're thinking about buying in particular, keep close contact too, because they change every single day.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking in your mind, I don't know what the interest rate is, that's because they change every day. No one does. You have to check
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which you can check on my website. I think you have one on your
Yeah, I
website
have
too.
one on my website
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And we have local lenders that we work with that we're always happy to refer. So that's the other thing I tell my clients is just because you're not selling your home doesn't mean you can't call me.
Right.
If you need a referral to a gardener, if you need a referral to a landscaper, or if you need construction because you're finally doing that dream remodel, we work with
All
contractors
the
and
time.
handyman all the time.
We have the best people.
We've done the hard work for you. We can tell you who's good.
Right, right, absolutely. And if I don't have one, she has one, and vice versa.
Exactly.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. So realtors are good for that, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So, okay, well, I don't know that we solved the issue here of the golden handcuffs, the locked-in effect. I mean, and what's sad is that really that has been a constraint on our inventory. That's
Yeah.
why the prices are so high because everyone's kind of locked in.
Yeah,
But
everybody's kind of got their feet dug in.
and if you're thinking you want to make a move, but you're worried about all the elements that we've been, talking about today, definitely call us and we'll help you put those puzzle pieces together because there's ways to get around things.
Yeah.
And just to throw one more thing kind of out last minute, another possibility at your disposal is the use of 1031 exchange. If you don't know what 1031 exchange is, we'll have to do another podcast about 1031 exchange. So if you're worried about paying cap gains taxes, even if it's your primary residence, there's a way around that to potentially use the 1031 exchange program. So we'll wait till the next episode and maybe we'll have a 1031
Yeah.
exchange person on. We can talk a little bit more about that because there's some interesting things there as well. So, but there's definitely a lot of ways to access the equity in your home to help you live in the place that you want and to get your dreams to come true. So, and we're here to help you guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.
See you next time.